I used to be so invisible at work, people actually forgot I was there. One day I overheard someone in the office saying, Asha's not in today, right? As I was sitting right there in the same room, quietly dying inside. If you're naturally quiet and socially anxious, you know exactly what this humiliation feels like. People treat you like you don't exist, assume you have nothing valuable to offer, and sometimes are visibly annoyed by your presence. For years, I struggled, forcing myself to act confident, using self-help advice that just wasn't designed for someone like me. And every time I used them, I felt like I was playing someone else. It was exhausting to rehearse every sentence 5 times in my head. But after a decade deeply immersed in social psychology, I finally uncovered a framework specifically designed for socially anxious people like you and me. It's called the 3 levels of quiet confidence. And today, I'll show you exactly how to implement it yourself so that your quiet nature can finally become the very reason that people seek your input, respect your ideas, and deeply value your presence. Now, the first thing that we gotta address is the social psychology fact that quietly ruins the confidence for so many anxious introverts. That people judge you within the first 7 seconds of meeting you. You've probably heard some variation of this, right? And it's terrifying. It means that you only get one chance to make an impression. Every job, every new team, every person screwed up and you are permanently blacklisted as irrelevant. I cannot begin to explain how many times this so-called fact has induced straight-up anxiety attacks for me. Countless times where I felt like I had ruined someone's judgment of me and it can't be fixed. So I hide, I keep to myself, I don't speak up. Except this 7-second thing is mostly wrong. Think of the last time you didn't like a song at first, but it slowly grew onto you the more you heard it. People's perception of you works in a similar way. You can think of all the verbal and non-verbal signals you give off as sound waves that people are picking up constantly. It never stops. Yes, they do make judgments in the first few seconds, but they're continuously and indefinitely scanning and picking up new sound waves from you. And most of this is happening subconsciously. I've had so many old friends and colleagues tell me that they initially disliked me because I came off cold and withdrawn and had an RBF. All things that, unfortunately, people who are socially anxious unintentionally give off. But once I found my quiet confidence, they got closer to me and completely flipped. They started paying attention to me and my ideas effortlessly. It was such a surreal experience to realize that people don't actually stay fixed in their judgment. And in the rare cases that someone doesn't change their mind even with new inputs from you, it's because they decided to stay stubborn and shut their ears off, which is a clear indicator that they've got some issues to work with and it's not a failure on your part. So no, people don't just make one-off judgments that stay permanent. You've not screwed up your situation at the workplace or with any group of friends or anyone. People are always changing their mind whenever they receive new inputs from you. So I hope this gives you a ton of relief the way it brought me. You can absolutely fix your current social landscape. So once people actually started changing their judgment of me, I couldn't stop wondering, what made the difference? What signals do people pick up that actually change their mind? And here's what I discovered. Let's stick with the sound waves analogy. Think of a whistle. It's very high-pitched, and it grabs your attention, right? Loud, more extroverted behavior is like a whistle. It's high-pitched. You can't ignore it, and it can sometimes be very overwhelming to receive it. Now I want you to think of a deep humming or a buzz in the background, like white noise. That's lower pitch, and that's where quiet confidence fits right in. It's the lower pitch, less noticeable signals that leave a big impact on how people judge you and respect you. So what are the signals of quiet confidence that people pick up? You can divide them into 3 levels. The rightmost, the high pitch, is level 1, what you do. Most of the confidence, self-help advice that you find fit here in level 1. It's more noticeable, tactical advice that you can immediately do. So for example, things like, always speak your mind and share your ideas, even if the topic has moved on. Wait for natural breaks in the conversation to bring it up. This teaches people that you value your thoughts and ideas, and therefore they will too. Another level 1 advice is, don't say I feel and start using I think when sharing your ideas. I feel sounds like a subjective opinion rather than an idea that you hold and believe. Another one is allow yourself 2 to 3 seconds to answer rather than immediately jump to respond. It shows that you're giving the question thought and allows you not to feel pressure to come up with an answer right away. And even better, if you're unsure of something, don't be afraid to say, let me think about it and get back to you. It gives you the time to think, and it shows that you're not someone who's willing to be rushed and puts thought into their answers. Now, these are all fantastic tactical approaches. You can do them right away, and they signal to people that you have some confidence, you respect your ideas, and therefore they take you seriously. But the problem is, there is an unlimited number of these approaches that you can implement, and that is a lot of work to remember to do. And if you're tired and slip right back into your normal habits, you'll start to become invisible again. Here's the kicker though. I never actually did any of the level 1 stuff for people to start noticing me and taking me seriously. I exclusively worked on the level 2 and 3 stuff, which has a way bigger impact than any of the things you can do in level 1. So if you're tired of trying to do 1,001 confidence hacks, then let's dive deeper into level 2. What do you notice? Okay, imagine you're having an exhausting day at work and someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, you're looking a bit tired. Is everything all right?" Or if someone said, "Hey, I noticed you've been spending your break times on your own. Would you want to join me for the next one?" Granted, you might feel a little bit exposed at first, worry that someone's actually seeing you, but the next time this person speaks in the meeting, you'd pay extra attention to them, right? You'd end up feeling a little closer to them. Because when you pay attention to the little details of others and acknowledge them, people feel seen. And even a single act of feeling seen will create a lasting impression. That person goes, "Hey, I should pay attention to this person because they pay attention to me." I once noticed a colleague spacing out in a meeting and rubbing his eyes. And quietly after I said, "Rough night?" And he looked so relieved that someone noticed and cared. Another time, I noticed another colleague very physically tense before a meeting. So I let her know afterwards that her presentation was really easy to follow. And I could instantly see how much of a weight was lifted after she heard that. Even just doing one of these level 2 activities makes a lasting difference in how people perceive you. You don't need to keep doing it either, like the level 1 stuff. Once it happens, even just once, people remember. You're no longer blended in the background. This is a key characteristic of lower pitch activities. The lower you go, the longer that sound lasts for. People might be a little bit taken back at first if you're usually the quiet one who doesn't say anything, but just like when you start liking a song that you initially didn't enjoy at first, the experience is a little bit confusing. You're like, okay, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Am I starting to like this song? The best part about level 2 is that it fits perfectly for socially anxious people like you and I. Because we notice every single detail, right? We have the amazing ability to be hyper aware. The problem is, usually every detail that we notice right now is to find if someone is upset or thinks you're stupid. So the hard part for the level 2 activities comes in forcing yourself to use your hyper awareness to focus on the behaviors of other people around you, instead of using it to validate your own self-belief that you're an annoyance. Level 2 is perfect for places where you frequent often, like a job or a group that you attend, since you'll have the time to notice the habits of others. But when it comes to new people, on the other hand, it can work as well, but it requires lots of in-the-moment analysis, which can be extremely hard to do at first. And sometimes you just won't actually be able to pick up anything substantial. So what happens then? Do we just succumb to being overpowered and staying small? How do we signal to other people that we're worth respecting even when we don't have the time to make an impression? Now that is where level 3 comes in. What you feel. So what happens when you take your hyper-awareness and shift it from observing others and turn it inwards to yourself? Let's say you notice a coworker is extremely quiet, just like yourself. Do you think, "Oh my gosh, this person must have nothing to say. That's why they're so quiet, obviously"? No, right? You're likely thinking, this person's really quiet. I hope they don't feel scared to speak up, and I'd love to hear what they have to say. Now, let's take this observation and shift it inwards. Perhaps you realize that you've always put yourself down for being so quiet. You beat yourself up for never speaking up, and that puts so much pressure on you that you blank out whenever you try to speak up. This causes a spiral, and the next time you double, you triple check what you're going to say before you speak, which is just plain exhausting. Now imagine you choose to address that by watching a few videos that show you how you can actually use your quiet nature to get respect, like this one. Videos that help you understand why you've always kept to yourself and hold yourself small. And the result of all of this internal work leads you to deeply realize that maybe you're not so ashamed of your quiet side anymore. And what happens after is that you stop overthinking every time you need to speak up at work. The voice in your head stops telling you that people see you negatively because you're quiet. You're more at ease, and you don't feel the need to force yourself to speak. And this is the magic of level 3. It can seem to be the least noticeable to yourself and others, but this ease into yourself speaks directly to other people's subconscious. It says, hey, this person has figured something out, and we should pay attention to them. Every time you look within yourself and address a new issue, it creates a profound shift in how other people respect you, how much you notice your own behavioral patterns and where it stems from, your own speaking patterns. Why do you believe the things about yourself that you do? The old wounds that you carry today. Each thing you address has a huge impact on how people perceive you, because people respect those who feel at ease with themselves. There is an unexplainable sense of calm and confidence in the people who have spent lots of time thinking about who they are and are able to hold all parts of them, even the parts that feel heavy or painful. And that's why level 3 activities have the biggest shift. When you see yourself and give every part of you the attention it deserves, the world can't help but follow. It's the most powerful type of confidence, the one that's silent. And most of the work is internal, but once it's done, a change in just one aspect about how you feel has an indefinite lasting effect in how people respect you, even from the get-go, without any active input from you. Yet most people don't do this because it's unnoticeable. It's a very low pitch. They prefer the quick fix, louder actions, which is fine, except it's exhausting to do and to actively keep up. Which is why you see me talking mostly about level 3 stuff on my channel. But there's one more quality about level 3 that actually makes it 10 times more impactful than the previous 2 levels. Focusing on level 3 makes you naturally do level 2 and level 1 actions without any active effort on your part. So let's say you tackle the issue that you think every idea you have is stupid or not worth sharing. You go deep and you find out where it comes from and why you think this way. And you end up achieving a body-based assuredness. Your intuition's telling you, maybe some of my ideas are good and some aren't, but none of them are stupid. You're no longer viscerally scared of seeming stupid. Now, once you realize this, naturally, when you see someone who's not speaking up or nervous when sharing their own thoughts, you gently ask them for their opinions. You push them to speak up because you see yourself in them. That's a level 2 action. Or perhaps now that you're not worried about your idea coming off as bad or stupid, you're not spending all that mental energy trying to rehearse and make everything perfect. So you have the extra time in your head to notice the details in other people during meetings. Perhaps you notice someone fiddling their pen and shaking their leg nervously, which you otherwise wouldn't have noticed before. So you check in on them after the meeting. That is another level 2 action. And because you value your ideas now and you want them to be shared, you start to naturally say, I think, because maybe you unknowingly used I feel when sharing your ideas because you didn't want to come off too strongly. And maybe you used to think that a rejection of your feelings somehow felt easier to digest than a rejection of your ideas because you grew up always having your feelings denied. And that's something that you're just used to. You see what I'm getting at here? The problem with most confidence advice is that it's often given from the people who have done lots of level 3 work, the internal hard work. So they find themselves naturally doing level 2 and level 1 activities as a result. And they see these actions that they're doing and they're saying, okay, those are the things that people need to do to be perceived as confident. Not realizing that they're naturally doing those things. So as a result, you get tons of behavioral level 1 tips everywhere. And while you can implement these actions and see some results, it's exhausting to continuously have to put in the effort to keep it up. it makes so much more sense to work on level 3 and find yourself naturally doing level 2 and 1. The craziest part of the level 3 work is as a result of doing it, even when I forgot or screw up lots of level 2 and even level 1 stuff, it doesn't change people's perception of me. It's like pretty privilege, except it's level 3 privilege. You get to mess up a lot and no one will notice or care. So okay, lots of new concepts today. But how do you put all of this into action and start seeing a considerable difference in your confidence and how people respect you? You do this in 3 steps. I want you to do one action from each level. For example, do a level 1 action like start all your ideas with I think instead of I feel. Or practice taking 2 seconds to pause and think before answering questions instead of rushing through them. Level 2 is maybe notice and acknowledge one behavior and habit about a person that you're working with. And level 3, pick just one part of yourself that you catch yourself doing and try to find its origin and imagine how you'd handle it if you saw it in another person. So for example, let's say you notice that you over-apologize. Where is this stemming from? What would you say to a colleague who's doing the exact same thing? How can you find peace with the root stressor that's causing you to do that? And once you figure it out, you naturally start doing level 2 and 1 things. You notice other people over-apologizing and you instinctively give them reassurance. You share your ideas without over-explanation because you're no longer worried that you're going to offend someone. Level 3 is far from easy, I get it. It's hard to notice these things about yourself. And it's especially difficult when you struggle with deep insecurities and toxic shame. Those things don't just make you blind to your internal world. They straight up distort the things about yourself that you do see. So how do you actually start working on level 3 things when your mind is wired for self-sabotage and internal criticism? I'll talk about that in the next video, which I will link here once it's uploaded. So if you take just one thing from this video, let it be this. Your quiet nature isn't the problem. It's the key. You just haven't been taught how to use it yet. If a part of you is thinking, God, this is exactly what I need, but I don't trust myself to figure it out alone, that is exactly what I help people with. Half the work I do with clients is the deep level 3 stuff, spotting the quiet patterns that your brain has expertly hidden from you. And the other half is focused on level 2, learning how to read people and build strong emotional bonds without ever faking it or forcing it. We barely touch level 1, because by then you're already doing it naturally. So if you're tired of trying to piece this together on your own and you're ready to take your quiet nature and make it your greatest strength, not just in theory, but actually in the workplace, in your relationships and your day-to-day life, you can book a call with me using the link in the description to see if working together is the right fit for you. I hope this video brings you closer to finding your quiet confidence, and I'll talk to you in the next one.